Good morning, dear children. Today we will be starting with the second part of Stoops. As you all already know that we are dealing with the fourth chapter, Thinkers, Beliefs and Buildings, Cultural Development 600 BCE to 600 CE. This is the last chapter in our first book. Now let us start. Sanchi Stoop. The Sanchi Stoop is the most wonderful ancient building in the state of Bhopal. It is situated in a village named Sanchi Kanakheda. This village is on the top of a hill. In fact, the stoop is nearly 20 miles northeast of Bhopal and looks like a crown. The stoop at Sanchi is the best preserved monument. It is a wonderful sculpture and has been an important center of Buddhism. Its discovery has changed our perception about the early times of Buddhism. The role of the Begums of Bhopal in preserving the stoop at Sanchi. Among the best preserved monuments of the time is the stoop at Sanchi. In the 19th century, Europeans, first the French and later the English, were interested to take away the eastern gateway of the stoop to Paris and London museums. Shah Jahan Begum of Bhopal took a wise decision to make plaster cast copies to please the Europeans. This resulted in the original remain at the state. The rulers of Bhopal, Shah Jahan Begum and her successor Sultan Jahan Begum provided money for the preservation of the ancient site. Museum was built, publication of the volumes by John Marshall was funded. The Sanchi Stoop as the most important Buddhist center has helped in the understanding of early Buddhism. Today, it stands testimony to the successful restoration of a key archaeological site by the ASI, that is Archaeological Survey of India. Sculptures at Sanchi. Stories in stone. The sculptures at Sanchi are scrolls of stories which depict scenes from the Jataks. There were stories of Vasantara Jatak where the prince gives up everything to the Brahmin and goes to live in forest with his wife and children. Symbols of worship. The early sculpture does not have the image of Buddha. Instead, it uses symbols like an empty seat, represents meditation of the Buddha, and stoop represented the Mahaparinibbana. There was the use of wheel which stood for the first sermon delivered by Buddha at Sarnath. As it is obvious, such sculptures cannot be understood literally. For example, the image of a tree does not stand simply for a tree, but symbolizes an event in the life of the Buddha. Hence, historians have to familiarize themselves with the traditions of those who produce these works of art to understand such symbols. The role of historians is very important here. Some other sculptures at Sanchi were not directly inspired by the Buddhist ideas. These include beautiful women known as Shala Bhanjika swinging from the edge of the gateway holding onto a tree. According to popular belief, the mere touching of the tree by her would make the tree to flower and bear fruit. Many people who turned to Buddhism enriched it with their own pre-Buddhist and even non-Buddhist beliefs, practices and ideas. Many animals were also carved to create lively scenes to attract viewers. For example, elephant was carved which signified strength and wisdom. Another figure found at Sanchi Stoop is that of Maya, the mother of Buddha or popular goddess Gajalakshmi. The motif of a serpent was found at Sanchi. James Ferguson, a modern art historian, considered Sanchi as the center of tree and serpent worship. The development of Mahayana Buddhism. By the 1st century CE, there were changes in Buddhist ideas and practices. Early Buddhist teachings had given great importance to self-effort in achieving Nibbana. I am repeating it again. Early Buddhist teachings had given great importance to self-effort in achieving Nibbana or Nirvana. Buddha was regarded as a human being. The idea of Buddha as a savior emerged. It was believed that he is the one who could ensure salvation. Simultaneously, the concept of the Bodhisattva also developed. Who were the Bodhisattvas now? Bodhisattvas were perceived as deeply compassionate beings that could help others to attain Nibbana. The worship of the images of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas became an important part of this tradition of Buddhism. This new way of thinking was called Mahayana, literally the greater vehicle. The followers of Mahayana Buddhism describe the older tradition as Hinayana or the lesser vehicle. So Hinayana is lesser vehicle and Mahayana is greater vehicle. Growth of Puranic Hinduism. There were two important traditions that developed within Puranic Hinduism. Vaishnavism is a form of Hinduism within which Vishnu was worshipped as the principal deity. Children remember Vaishnavism, form of Hinduism in which Vishnu as the principal deity. In the case of Vaishnavism, cults were developed around the various avatars or incarnations of Lord Vishnu. According to Vaishnavism, there are 10 avatars of Vishnu. I am repeating it again, children. According to Vaishnavism, there are 10 avatars of Vishnu. Avatars were forms that the deity was believed to have assumed in order to save the world whenever the world was threatened by evil forces. Different avatars were popular in different parts of the country. Shaivism now. Shaivism is a tradition within which Shiva was regarded as the chief god. Shiva was symbolized by the linga, although he was occasionally represented in the form of human figure too. Some of these deities were represented in sculptures. All such representations depicted a complex set of ideas about the deities. To understand the meaning of these sculptures, historians have to be familiar with the Puranas. Puranas contain stories about gods and goddesses. They were written in simple Sanskrit language and were meant to be read aloud to everybody. Puranas evolved through interaction amongst people and priests, merchants and ordinary men and women who traveled from place to place sharing ideas and beliefs. For example, Vasudeva Krishna was an important deity in the Mathura region. Over centuries, his worship spread to other parts of the country as well. Growth of temple architecture. When the stupas at sites such as Sachi were taking their present form, at the same time the first temples to house images of gods and goddesses were also being built. The early temple was a small square room called the Garbhagriha, within a single doorway for the worshipper to enter and offer worship to the image. I am repeating again, children, Garbhagriha. It was an early temple or small square room where the image of the deity was kept. Worshippers entered from its single doorway to offer worship to the image. Gradually, a tall structure known as shikhar was built over the central shrine. Temple walls were often decorated with sculpture. Assembly halls, huge walls, gateways, and arrangements for supplying water made the later temples far more elaborate. One of the unique features of early temples was that some of these were hollowed out of huge rocks as artificial caves. An amazing example of the carving out of an entire temple from a cave is that of Kailashnath Temple at Ellora in Maharashtra. Problems faced by the European scholars while studying the sculptures. There are mainly two problems, children. Firstly, the European scholars were not familiar with the local traditions and beliefs, and when one is not familiar, he or she has no idea about that. They were horrified by the images of half human and half animals, as they had never seen this before. They considered the Indian sculptures inferior to that of European sculptures from Greece, with which they were familiar. Again, this was a major problem as they considered themselves as superior and Indian sculptures as inferior. This was because they compared the Indian sculpture to the images of Greece with which they were familiar. Second problem was that the art historians used textual traditions to understand the meaning of sculptures. Well, this is a better strategy than comparing the images found in India with that of Greece, but it was not always easy to use. For example, to identify the sculpture along a huge rock in Mahabalipuram, art historians have to search through the Puranas. Now some key words from the chapter, which usually come as questions also. Hagiography. Hagiography is a biography of a saint or religious leader. Theravadi. Theravadins, the followers of the older tradition of Buddhism, were called as Theravadins. Tripitak. Literally, Tripitak means 3 baskets. These were Buddhist texts, namely Sutta Pitak, Vinay Pitak and Abhidhamma Pitak. SVA. Chaitya. Chaitya may also have been derived from the word chitta, meaning a funeral pyre and by extension a